that's where I was like, okay, once I land and throughout the 3 weeks, I'm going to see how do I feel. And if it feels right, then I got my answer. And
Yeah.
that's what pretty much happened.
It felt right when you were in Germany?
Immediately. I didn't even land.
It's the Germany Experience, the podcast about life in Germany as seen through the eyes of outsiders. I'm your host, Sean, and I'm back. I was on a break, but I'm back. Visit the website, thegermanyexperience.de, or email me at info@thegermanyexperience.de. And yeah, I took a break over summer, had a great time with the family, went away on vacation down to Füssen. I don't know if you've ever been, but it's in the Allgäu region, and this is beautiful. I posted some pictures. I think I posted some pictures on Instagram. I actually haven't posted on my Instagram because when I take a break from the podcast, I take a break from everything. Generally, I take a break from social media as well. But I think I did post some pictures of my vacation, or at least the area that we were in. And I can only recommend it. It's near the Alps, or it's in the Alps rather, and it's close to Zugspitze, which is a mountain, and there's lots to see and do in the area. Lots of beautiful lakes, lots of alpine things to see. So yeah, it was fun. But now we're back. In this episode, it's about a German actually who has lived in the States for 11 years and who is now planning on returning to Germany, and that makes her pretty much returning as a foreigner because she's been away for 11 years. So we discussed that, and we discussed how she's going through some of the same experiences that foreigners have to do when they move to Germany. But before we get to her story, I want to tell you about the summit, the Welcome to Germany Summit. It is an online summit. It's free of charge for you to sign up. It's on the 29th of September, and I will be one of the speakers for the Welcome to Germany Summit. I'm very excited to be one of the speakers and very honored, actually. And it's all online. And as I said, it costs nothing. So you can just sign up. There is a link in the show note where you can sign up. There are so many insightful speakers covering a range of cool topics. And here are just some examples of the topics that will be covered. There's financial education, guidance on your German journey, the actual job search, how to search for a job in Germany, the emotional journey of the expat, how to recognize when grief hits and what to do about it. And my talk will be called Advice for Adapting and Integrating in Germany, from discussions with 100 plus foreigners. So my whole point will be the things that have come up on this podcast that I can offer as advice to people wanting to move to Germany or who are in Germany, and specifically around the fact that Germany can have a massive hit on your self-confidence because you come here, you might feel stupid, you might wonder why you aren't able to make friends, or why are you struggling at your job, and you start thinking that it's you, and meanwhile it's just the circumstances that you're in. So that is going to be the focus of my talk. I'm very excited about it. Sign up at the link in the show notes. And yeah, you will get something from the day. I guarantee it. It is going to be amazing. Now on to my guest this week. Her name is Cathrin, and she is a German. Now, it just struck me while I was saying that you probably say her name Cathrin. I did not ask this while I was in an interview with her. It's spelled with a TH, but because she's German, I guess it's Cathrin. I don't know. Sorry, Cathrin, for not clarifying with this for you. It's literally just something that's occurred to me now. Anyway, she's pretty much like a foreigner moving to Germany, like I said. She's lived in the USA for over a decade, and now with the move back, she's facing a lot of things like reverse culture shock in some ways, and all the rest of it. So we talk about why she wants to move back, first of all, and then she gives us some of her insights of her impressions of Germany, like customer service, the coffee in Germany, the difference in the cost of living between Germany and the United States, and also finding a job, which is turns out not so easy to do 10 months in advance. I like her story because there are a lot of parallels to what foreigners feel coming to Germany, but with the added insight of her German mind, we get a slightly different perspective of it. So here is Cathrin, or Cathrin, and her story. Thank you so much for joining me on the podcast, Cathrin.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, all the way from United States of America. Where exactly are you at the moment? I mean, not exactly, but more or less.
You want my address?
Yeah.
So I'm right outside of Baltimore, Maryland, on the East Coast. Probably not that popular, but about 45 minutes from Washington, D.C.
Okay. So you are, as we're about to find out, you're previously from Germany. You're currently living in the United States of America. And what we're going to discuss is just a bit about how you ended up where you are now, and then also you're in the process of thinking about moving back, or I mean, pretty concretely moving back. So we're going to get into all your reasons for that. But first, give me your background, where you're originally from, and how it is that you're in the United States of America.
So my journey to the US was planned for 1 year as an au pair, which I feel like is a very typical thing for a German girl in her early 20s to do. I did an apprenticeship in Germany as a bank clerk. And afterwards, I was like, I do not want to continue doing this. And I needed a break. I was still living with family. And I started looking into work and travel in Australia, which seemed too far away from family. The UK au pair program is like 50-50 of household work and then also childcare, which I didn't want to do either. And
Right.
then there was the United States of America offering a great exchange program for a year. 11 years later, I'm still here.
Wow.
And kind of settled in the Baltimore area. And went to college in the US, worked for Under Armour as an analyst for about 2 years, and have been with my current job, which is an Austrian company, for about a year and a half now too. And time flies by really quickly.
Yeah. So what was it that made you stay there? Was it just kind of the natural course of things, or did you just love it there?
Funny that you ask. I actually stayed for love initially, which didn't end up working out. And at that point, when it didn't work out, I was already in college to pursue my IT degree. So I was like, you know what, I'll finish that. And after that, I'm going to go home. And then you finish college and you're like, well, it would be kind of stupid to leave without actual work experience, because all I had in Germany was the bank training. So I stayed for the first job. And after that, I again was in love and stayed again. And I actually did like a timeline of like what I did, because people are so surprised that like 11 years, it sounds so much, but if you count like 1 year au pair, then you're in school for 4 years, you do job experience each 2 years, and you're at 11 at some point. And it's just
it does
crazy.
go really fast. It does go really quick. Wow. So 11 years in the United States of America. But now when we got in touch, we've been in touch on Instagram. I actually can't remember how we got in touch or what was how that all happened. But we've been in touch on Instagram, and you are in the process of trying to move back to Germany.
That's true. Yes. It took me 11 years, a long time. Just, a couple of natural disasters in the US on the East Coast over the last 11 years, a pandemic, and just kind of, experiencing the country in different phases of my life. And I think especially COVID kind of helped me to slow down for the first time. I was always busy, either working 2 jobs or 1 job, like full time. In the US, I'm not sure if that's like as commonly known, but you don't have as much vacation. Like average is 2 weeks, so 10 days. We have a couple holidays, so you can kind of, try and make it work. But if you have family that's 6,000 kilometers away, your vacation most likely is going to be to go visit. And while I was in college, like I was working as a waitress. So anytime I would take off work, I wouldn't make any money. So that was definitely complicating things a lot as well. So I think I got the coronavirus to blame, that I slowed down, had some time to think, and kind of put things in perspective, what is important and what isn't. And I think now I'm in my early 30s, after like starting and settling in my career, especially with the American culture. I think you're always chasing the next best thing. Like you're always chasing after money. You're working like 40 plus 50, 60 hours a week. You're more than happy to stay in the office until 7 p.m. I usually was one of the last people leaving the office when I worked for Under Armour. And you just kind of like, there's a movie called Pursuit of Happiness. And I think that's kind of what I did. I was always looking for that in all the wrong places. Now looking back and reflecting. But then COVID happened. I was part of the layoff from Under Armour where 650 people were laid off.
Right.
And for the first time, kind of had to stop and think, what do I want to do? Like, what am I doing?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I guess that was a big fork in the path, because you had to figure out, do I stay here and find another job, or this is my chance to get back to Germany?
Definitely. And I then, moving during a pandemic, and I adopted a dog in that time too, like so many other people.
Yeah, yeah. You're just like stereotypical pandemic here. Lost your job, adopted a dog, made big changes in your life.
Just so stereotypical. So I found Finley, and then again, you always think like, once I have this, I'm gonna have that happiness that you're always chasing here.
Yeah.
And so I got the dog that I wanted since I was 6 years old, and still something was missing. And I guess something predominantly clicked like this year in May, where I was on the phone with my mom, and she was just like, so how are you really doing? And you can't ask someone like that, out of the blue. And I was like, you know what? I don't know what I'm doing. Why am I here? I miss you guys so much. I hadn't seen them throughout the whole pandemic. I hadn't been home. So when I started talking to you, I was actually in the process of going home for 3 weeks to visit for the first time. And that's where I was like, okay, once I land, and throughout the 3 weeks, I'm going to see, how do I feel? And if it feels right, then I got my answer. And that's what pretty much happened.
It felt right when you were in Germany?
Immediately. I didn't even land. I just was flying near Stuttgart, which is where my family lives. And I saw the fields, and just imagining taking my dog for a walk on public land, and he could just roam around and sniff and have the greatest time, which here, most of the fields are owned by the farmers. Yeah. So you're trespassing if you walk there. So you can't do it. And I knew right then, like I teared up and I was like, oh my God, here's my answer. This is my calling. Like it was crazy immediately.
That's amazing. That would be, it must have been a huge life-changing, obviously, thing for you. And then you landed and then spent time with your family and just figured, damn, this is what I have to do.
Yeah, it was so quick. Like the first morning, of course, you're jet lagged. So I was up like super early and I was having my cup of coffee outside. And I was like, damn, this is so nice. Like I can drink coffee in the US any day I want. I have a coffee machine too. But it was just a different feeling, because I knew my parents were going to be there. I was going to be able to spend time with them. I didn't have to like travel for, a flight is only 8 hours, but from door to door, you're out for like 12 plus hours. Yeah. So it was definitely a pretty quick shift.
Wow. So when you came over for that 3 weeks to visit family, did Finley come with, or did he stay at home?
He went on his own vacation. Ooh. He was on a farm with like 6 other dogs, having the best time of his life. I would get videos. I'm like, I want to be there too. It looks great.
Like a good vacation that he's having. Okay.
Definitely.
So then you had that 3 weeks in Germany, and then it sort of materialized a lot more, or became more concrete for you that you needed to move back to Germany. I mean, what was that feeling like, that you've given so much? You've lived an entire life there for more than a decade in the United States of America. How does that feel? Is there a sense of grieving, or when you make that decision, or when you come to that realization?
It was an 11-year process to get to that conclusion, I think. And it still is, because I think life is kind of so funny when you think about it. Because like once I got back, I just made like 5 new friends, and like work's going great, and my dog's healthy, I'm healthy, everything's going great. And you find yourself like just a glimpse, like, why would you leave this? Yeah. But then you chat with family and you're like, that's why. Like my parents are both in their 60s. My dad is turning 70 soon. And you kind of have to put things in perspective. Like how many times will I be able to see my family before I couldn't, like, to be quite blunt. And so I think it's kind of bittersweet for sure, because there's always going to be good and bad on both sides. Like, for example, my whole career, my professional career has all been in the US, right? So I think I might have to prepare myself for, the German job market and how that's going to be. And, the see, and here we just do the do. I'm like very informal with all of my colleagues.
Yeah.
That's probably going to change depending on the company that I'm going to work for.
Yeah.
And
it's so weird to hear a German complaining about that, because like, that's usually the other way around.
it's, just the cultural differences. Like, it's so easy to have random conversations with Americans. Like,
Yes,
you'd be in the line for getting your groceries and someone would just comment on your groceries. and you would almost get to the point where you would exchange numbers to like hang out and grab drinks, but then you say bye, have a nice life, and you never see them again. But and that's it. And over time that can get a bit exhausting too, because I'm a very caring person. I'm an empath, so my little heart sometimes breaks a little when you have conversations or interactions like that, and then it just doesn't go anywhere. And that's definitely something I'll miss in a way, but also like hope that I can make the same and maybe even deeper connections in Germany as well.
Right. So you came back, and then what I know what happened after that at some point is that you decided that you're going to look for a job. So just explain to me now the timeline for moving back to Germany. It's not something that you could do right away, is it?
I think that's where the grief comes in a little bit too. Okay. So in America, usually you sign a 13 or 12-month lease. So which I did in April. So it ends next year, April. I could get out of it by paying money. And I would be willing to, but I think what I want to give myself is kind of the next months to grieve and also kind of say goodbye to the United States of America in a way.
Get closure.
And like, it's funny, if any au pairs are listening, you have like a bucket list when you come over here. You have like things that are so American that you want to do. I kind of like started making a little bucket list for myself for the next upcoming months of things that I want to do, places I want to visit, just to kind of find that closure, like you said, because I mean, it's still 11 years of my life. And at the point where I'll be leaving, it's almost 12. So the timeline that I'm looking at is after you fulfilled your 1 year or 13-month lease, you can also do it month to month, which I think is kind of more the German way, maybe like a 3 to 6 month Kündigungsfrist.
Yeah.
And so I want to give that time to myself. Just I can't like cancel everything and like just say screw this, I'm gonna go right now. I want to be able to mentally and also like overall prepare myself and also my dog for the move.
Sure.
So
yeah.
April or fall, since you can't fly a dog during the summer. It's just not gonna work.
Okay, so we're gonna get into the job search, how that went for you in a bit. But first, one of the things we got to chatting about this just in time, and one of the things that I really thought was cool was I had the opportunity to get some of your knee-jerk reactions to to being back in Germany. So you, after your three weeks, you went back to the States. You were there for a while, and then you planned another trip back to do some job searching, which you did when you came back. And then you sent some voicemails on Instagram about your experiences. So I'm just going to go through them one by one, and we can talk about them. Because one of the things I love, Cathrin, is when I hear about a German who's experiencing what foreigners experience when they come to Germany. Because you've been away so long. I mean, you've got the connection. You've had family here, but I mean, you're only here a few weeks of the year, and then you're back in the States. So you're just also a foreigner, I guess, after 11 years. So I was very interested in some of your thoughts, and I loved your voicemails. So I'm going to play the first one, and we can talk about it in a second. I just have to get to the beginning of it.
So one of the first things I noticed once I got to Germany was the bathrooms. There are no sluts in the bathrooms, and I completely forgot about that since I've been in the US for almost 11 years now. And all I'm going to say is I appreciate the German bathrooms so much because you have more privacy. You don't feel like someone's looking at you while you're going to the bathroom while they're washing their hands, which you can appreciate.
You know what, Cathrin? You can appreciate it. When I go to the States, the first time I went to the States, I'd been in Germany, and I went to a public restroom at first time, and I'm like, how do people do this? How do people do this? This is bizarre, because in the States, for people who don't know, there's like sometimes half a meter gap between the ground. Yeah, it's like a massive gap at the bottom, and then also between the doors, you can see through the doors. I'm like, this is not private at all.
No, and it like was one of the first things when I came 11 years ago to the States, and you use a bathroom at the airport, because obviously you've just been on a plane, you know, that's your first stop. I was like, what is this? Like, is this just at airports because it's like cheap to set up? But then it continued throughout restaurants and public buildings everywhere. And I Googled it at some point, and I guess the reasoning behind it, I guess, makes sense, but it's also still very strange, because then, like, wouldn't it be like kind of an international thing? So they do it, if you're curious, in case someone passed out in the bathroom, that they could be spotted quickly. Okay. Or since there is a pretty high drug abuse.
Right. That was the first thing that came to my mind, actually.
Should someone overdose in a bathroom, that, you know, they could get the medics in time.
Okay. But I mean, how often is that happening, really? Like, is it worth the huge stats? But maybe it is. I don't know. I'm not here to judge American culture. I do enough judging of German culture, so we're not going to go into that. But that is something that I say when I do go into the German restrooms. Like, I realized by going to the States how spoiled I am here with public restrooms, because it's like your own little fortress in many of them. Yes, some of them do have a small gap at the bottom, but it's not like. It's
not on the side.
You're still private.
You're not watching people washing their hands, and you might make that awkward eye contact, and you're like, "Oh no,
don't look at me.
I am vulnerable."
So yeah, I'm fully with you on that point. Then this is the next voicemail that you sent. I think it's this one. This could be the same one. It's just here.
I've honestly been surprised at how good the customer service has been in Germany. And I was a little worried because listening to your podcast and a few others, I got the impression that it's definitely not as nice as in America.
I'm just going to stop there for a second and just say, I'm sorry if I've cast German customer service in a bad light. That's what I want to say. I apologize to everyone. Maybe it isn't as bad as I make it out on my podcast.
But honestly, I've only had good experiences. I've been shopping at a shopping center called Pointingerland, which is about 20 minutes from where my parents live. And everyone was super nice and wished me have a nice day and things like that in German. So I was pleasantly surprised and had a good time and good experience overall so far.
Yeah, so you had good experiences, and to be honest, I have had good experiences like that as well. But I find it's more in the cities than rurally where I am. So that's what colors my views.
I can see that. Yeah, this is definitely also a place that, you know, might get some tourists. So definitely saw a bit of a difference. I mean, if you go out to eat, for example, the customer service, they leave you alone. You can be there for hours. Yes. They will not bother you. All the while, when I worked as a waitress in the US, you're almost like trained to check on a table every latest 5 minutes. Yeah. Like, are you guys doing okay? Can I grab you anything? Like, do you want a refill that is free of your drink? Do you want dessert, a box? Like, again, the to-go culture is so prudent in the US that the meals are so large that usually I eat like a quarter or half of it and take the rest home. I have never done that in Germany.
But yeah, I can see, I do feel when I'm eating in the States that it feels like you've been pushed out the door sometimes, especially on busier days where they're just trying to get you. They're very attentive, of course, but in some ways I sometimes feel like they're just trying to kick me out the place so they can fill the table again.
Oh, there sometimes. So I've worked at now 3 restaurants. I'm currently bartending again. I just started that 2 weeks ago. But in both previous restaurants, there was a time limit. Like if they were there for dinner, 30 to 35 minutes, and they gotta be gone. Like you gotta you gotta leave. It's a busy Saturday night. I'm here to make money, and I will provide you service. And in Germany, I'm not even done eating after 30 minutes. Yeah. Like we're just getting started.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely. Do I really make customer service sound so bad in Germany?
I think it's
I already know the answer to that.
So I think it's also going to vary because I've noticed a difference between customer service towards a German and customer service towards a foreigner. Now, the first week when I get back to Germany, I feel more like a foreigner because I still have my very thick American accent. And it doesn't come as easy to me, or I mix words up, or it's like English and German is just one word can be both in a weird way, if that's ever happened to you.
Yeah.
So people don't right away assume that I'm fully German because they might just think I have good German skills, but I'm actually American.
Right.
But so I definitely saw a difference between that, but I also try to be overly friendly because that's the American way. So you're like, have a great day, or thank you so much for all your help. Like it's not really a German way. It's very American that it like, I take it that far that it's called out by family members. They're like, you're so American. I'm like, of course, at this point, like 11 years later,
sure.
I have lived this life for as long as like I can remember at this point. So I think it definitely, like, if you don't mind me saying it in German, the way you call into the forest, the way it's going to come out.
Yes. Is that a German idiom? Is that German? Okay, that's cool. I've never heard that.
Wie man in den Wald reinruft, so kommt
es zurück. Okay.
So kommt's zurück. Und so I try to live by that because I'm like, the way I want to be treated, I'm going to treat others. So I'm like very friendly, also empathetic because I have worked in customer service and it's not always that easy.
No.
But honestly, I didn't have like crazy bad experiences, but Germans are definitely more strict.
Yeah.
With following rules, and I learned that pretty quickly.
Yes, I think my biggest problem with customer service is just that it's like if you're used to customer service in South Africa, it's you have to be friendly to customers, you have to smile, you have to whatever. If they need something, you're all over it. You're like, you know. But that's not the case in Germany. Like in Germany, you're literally on your own. Some places, yes, maybe it's different, but you're on your own. Like, you know, sometimes you actually feel like you're bothering the customer service assistant. And I think it's not a criticism per se. It's more like an observation where I go, well, that's different. And especially if you're expecting different, because if you're expecting that normal American or South African or English customer is king almost attitude, and then you come to Germany expecting that, it's going to be weird for you. Like it's going to be a very strange situation.
Oh, definitely. I said that like, oh, this is different. Oh, that's different. And my mom at some point was like, how many times are you going to say this when you move back? I'm like, probably a lot.
Wait till you listen to this podcast episode.
You just wait. But of course, you know, you have two different cultures, two different continents, countries. So there's going to be differences, but I guess it comes down, can you embrace it or is it a deal breaker?
Exactly.
And I just go head first and hope for the best, honestly.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's the best attitude. It's just customer service at the end of the day. It's not friendships or whatever. It's one of those things that you can get by with. Okay. Let me just see what the next one is.
On my first full day, I actually landed on a holiday. So everything was closed. I feel like they should announce that when the flight from the US lands in Germany. They just said, welcome to Germany, just so you know, today is a holiday in the country. But I don't think a lot of people from America know that holidays in Germany actually mean that things are closed, that you won't be able to do any grocery shopping or shopping in general. So that was interesting to me.
Yes. I love that idea that they should just announce the plane. You're going to land. It's a Sunday. Good luck finding anything because everything's closed. This happened to my wife and I. We landed on a Sunday. Some friends picked us up from the airport and they took us to the apartment where we would be staying. But of course they didn't think about telling us that nothing's going to open. So we got into the apartment. It was fully furnished, thank goodness. But obviously it didn't have toilet paper or anything. So, but we were like, we weren't worried. We'd seen a little shop down the road from us, a Lidl, as it turned out. And we were like, we'll just go there. And then we walked down without even thinking for a second that it's going to be closed at 1:00 in the afternoon or whatever it was. And we got there and we're like, are they doing stock take or something? Why are they closed? So yes, some kind of warning on the flights would be good. I like that idea.
I would take that over the weather. Like you can easily, look that up prior, but definitely. I mean, thankfully, I was staying with family during my 3 weeks, so obviously there was everything already stocked, and anything I needed could have waited until the Monday.
Yeah. Let me hear I can't remember what the next one was. It could be you elaborating on this point, so let's hear.
Coffee in Germany tastes so much better than it does in the US.
That was that was your point.
It was, and it's so true. Because for people that have gone to the US and visited, coffee is huge. Starbucks, Dunkin' Donuts, coffee shops, like every 500 meters almost, you will find a coffee shop. But the coffee is drip coffee, and it's not good. It's not strong. So you drink it with like sugar and whipped cream and syrups and added flavors. It's not actually about the coffee at all. It's just, some people even think of it as like, well, it's my hydration. I'm like, no,
coffee is
water.
That's not the point. Hydration. Literally, it's in the word hydrate. Hydra.
Water. But that's like just like not coffee, not iced coffee, definitely not milk. It's just you get the larger sizes, but then when I would have coffee in Germany at first, I was like, damn, this is so small. But everything seems much smaller compared to the US sizing.
Right. But I agree with you on the coffee in Germany. I think Germans get the coffee right.
And it's a different culture thing too. I think if you compare Germany directly with the US, Germany coffee doesn't necessarily mean to go. It's you sit down and you enjoy your drink. Yeah. You enjoy a nice scenery. You enjoy the company of your friends or family or whoever. And in the US, it's just, let me go for the drive-thru, get this extra large, super sweet, double whipped cream coffee on my way to work, and then complain about stomach issues later.
That's so true. That is very true. And it's almost like, in some ways, it's almost like an accessory. You see everybody walking around with their cups, whereas in Germany, it is more of an event or a moment that you take out of your day that you enjoy your coffee and just, that's a good point. Didn't think about that. Yeah.
It's like Gemütlichkeit is pretty much what coffee means to me in Germany. And it definitely doesn't mean that here. Here, it's like, I am so tired. I've worked so much. I just need a little pick me up. Yeah. And it's never, let me enjoy this cup of coffee on my balcony while watching. No, it's not like that at all.
All right. So that is that one. This is the next one that you left.
Traveling is so much easier once you're in Europe. It's amazing to see how cheap you can fly from one country to the next. I'm actually going to visit my cousin in Amsterdam over the 4th of July weekend. And my flight was probably half as it would have been in the US for the same distance, which is really great. And I'm so excited to go visit. It's my first time in Amsterdam, so
Yeah, that's definitely a benefit that a lot of foreigners who come here discover, because for me, it's also coming from South Africa. You could travel 1,000 kilometers and just go from Johannesburg to Cape Town, like 1,400 kilometers. But in 1,400 kilometers here, you could be in England somewhere and you have crossed like 4 or 5 different countries. It's amazing.
It really is. And it was so convenient. I mean, if I would have had, more time, I may have opted for a train, but train would have been somewhere between 8 to up to 22 hours. Yeah. And I was like, I have only one weekend to really do this trip. So I'm going to take the hour flight over sitting in a train, especially with the €9 ticket, which complicated things a bit.
And the last one was this one. I can't remember what it is.
Shampoo, shower gel, toothpaste, all these things, things that you need to get ready on a daily, are so much cheaper in Germany compared to the US. I was shocked the first time I went to DM, which is kind of like a Target, I would say, like just a mini version of it. I was walking around like a little child, amazed at the prices, and the quality that you get for the prices is pretty much out of this world compared to the US, where you pay at least, I want to say, on average, like $4 for a shampoo at the very least.
Wow.
And here I just got a bottle of shampoo for 95 cents.
Is that, I have no idea about that, but that sounds crazy. That's insane. That would cost so much.
It's crazy. Like, that's why when it was one of the first stops that I did with my friend when we went to Pointing, and I was like, can we stay here for like another 5 minutes? And I was just walking around the aisles. I wasn't even going to buy anything. I was just like, holy wow, it's crazy to see the prices. Like, and then you think of how much money you spend on, not only my own shampoo, but also my dog's, right? Because he gets baths.
Right,
so
of course.
that's even more than my own. And I was amazed. And I actually took some back with me. Because I was like, this is crazy. I mean, it's not like, it's not even that I wouldn't have the money to spend on shampoo, but you just kind of can't reason with it. Yeah. Why is it so much more expensive?
Yeah.
I think, like, also comparing now with me looking for jobs in Germany and kind of noticing that the average salary in Germany is a bit lower than what I'm used to in the US. You also have to put into perspective that the cost of living in Germany, to me at least, maybe not to, Germans that haven't lived outside of Germany before, is lower, if not half of what I'm used to in the US. Like, if you want like a decent apartment, you're going to have to pay this much. And then in Germany, like the friends that I visited and kind of getting a take on how much they pay in rent, I was like, you only pay what? Yeah. Like, that's a room. That's like 4 roommates in the city. It doesn't even include utilities or anything like that. Yeah. So you think you make so much more, but in the end, you also spend way more. So in the end, it's kind of evening itself out. Plus, you only have 10 vacation days. So you don't actually have that much time to spend the money either.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yes, it's interesting. Speaking of your German job search, I just want to talk about that for a few moments, because that's, of course, why you were in Germany. How did that go?
So I had sent out, I think I want to say like 40 applications casually. It's just kind of seeing like what's out there and how is the feedback. And out of the 40, I had like 6 interviews, and 5 of them, you would think on my resume, it says where I'm located, and they would take a look at that. But I would get the feedback kind of like, oh, so like, what's your start date looking like? And like in the US, it's most likely an at-will agreement, which means you can leave the company at any point. You could give your resignation letter on a Monday and not work Tuesday, which I don't think that would fly in Germany at all. You have your Kündigungsfrist, so you have like 3 months or 30 days or whichever it's going to be, depending on how long you've been with the company. And I realized that pretty quickly, because they would question my 2-week notice that I would have to give to my employer, which is me being nice, which I would be willing to push to a month. So once they kind of understood that I'm still located in the US and the timing would be about, 9 to 12 months out, a lot of them were like, okay, well, we would prefer the remote position to be filled within Germany. Just based on the time difference. I'm on the East Coast, so I'm 6 hours behind of Germany. I could have made that work, definitely put the willingness out, but sometimes it felt like that was like one of the major deal breakers for quite a few of the positions then. And I just did it casually. I wasn't like, oh my God, I need a job like right now. It's more like, what's out there? How does this work? How is an interview in German going to feel? And, just to kind of get a taste of it and get the first impression. So when it gets actually more serious, once I get closer to moving, I would have that experience already.
Yeah. And it's interesting that you sent out 40 plus applications and only got 6 interviews out of that. I think that's also something that a lot of people realize when they're in the job hunting market, is that it is a numbers game in some ways. So then it does make sense that you just send out as much as you can.
Definitely. I kind of made it a point, like, a few a day. Also, you want to research, because it's not just, I want a job. I want a job that I will enjoy and that the employer is going to be a good match, as well as maybe a good match for my future employer, right? And I kind of have that with the company that I work for right now. It's just, since they are an Austrian company, but with their like US headquarters in Maryland, I'm employed with my role for civil, but also government contracts. So it's kind of bonded with my green card that I have. And it would be kind of complicated, to say the least, once I move. And once you're out of the US for more than 12 months, the green card goes away, which when you mentioned earlier grief, that's another thing that I had to kind of come to terms with.
Yeah.
It's the letting go and kind of like final decision in terms of kind of closing that chapter and writing a new one completely.
It's quite a big decision to that it makes it very concrete.
Yes, for sure. And I think that's like piece by piece, day by day, you kind of, come to terms. And of course, like over the 11 years, there's always been moments where I considered moving back, and then you find reasons not to. And at some point, I think I reached a point where I just kind of ran out of excuses. Why not? Besides being scared of the unknown or scared of something new. And funnily enough, like social media, I follow this influencer, Casey Rose. Go follow her. She's in Italy and she's American. And she made the point of like, do shit that scares you. And when I heard her say that out loud, I was like, oh my God. Yeah. Like what scares me the most is like a new beginning, a new start, new everything. And you wouldn't think it would be that new to someone that grew up in Germany. But for me, it will be, because it's not the setting that I'm used to anymore, especially as an adult. It's going to be a different kind of experience than it was as a teenager or just out of high school.
Definitely. It's a big move. So you ran into some difficulties then with them, with the amount of time that you have between what you're looking for the job now and you've got a 10-month waiting period before you are able to fill a job. So I guess it's a case of they're just not ready to fill jobs that far in advance, which I think it's a bit of a difficult thing, because I think a lot of foreigners might be the same as you, that where they want to get a head start on the job search kind of thing, but you can't actually plan that far in advance. It seems you need to be kind of more or less within a few months of being able to fulfill a position, which is I think surprising to me in some ways, but it does make sense, I guess.
I think it's, some positions you can see it's like, oh, we're trying to fill this position by, and then they put like October or something like that. I work in IT, so it might depend on the industry, which kind of got me thinking, okay, I'm very early. I'm also kind of looking at the job a little bit more casually, I guess, than maybe someone that's looking for a work visa and things like that, because I already have my German passport. I won't have like any issues getting into Germany without a job. And it also got me thinking that I also haven't seen that much of Europe, it feels. I was 21 when I moved away. And a recent thought, which is like within the last 2 weeks, was that how cool would it be to travel Europe for like a month with my dog and experience it on my own without having, the pressure to, go back to work, which is like, it feels like for the last 11 years, that's all I've been doing. Like, with your normal weekends. But as I was in college, I was working 1 to 2 jobs as a waitress, 1 in the morning, 1 in the afternoon, into night until closing. After college, I continued that a little bit. It was good money. It's easy money.
Yeah.
And then you start your corporate job and you come to the conclusion, okay, I have 10 vacation days. What are you going to do with that? Right. My brother would go to France for 3 weeks or 2 weeks, and then have another holiday to go skiing or something like that. You kind of have to pick and choose your importance of what is important to you, vacation or family. And some years you have to choose between the two. Yeah.
So you're just thinking of taking some time off and just traveling a bit.
I think so. Honestly, like if not now, when? I'm not one of those people that's like, I'll do it when I'm retired. I will be in my 60s, maybe at that point in my 70s. I will not be going to Italy or Croatia or, have the same experience. I'm probably going to have like 2 medications that I have to take daily and doctor's visits. And I don't know.
It's a different experience then, isn't it? It's a different experience whether you go now in your 30s or whether you go in your 60s or 70s. It's just a very different. There's nothing wrong with doing it in your 60s and 70s, but I think there's a lot to be said about traveling when you're younger and completely flexible and more spontaneous than otherwise.
And I think the tolerance for certain things is also like still at the more doable level, I think, because I definitely saw a switch between my early 20s to now, where my 30s, and my standards and my expectations of certain things have shifted so much that if they have shifted that much in 11 years, I can only imagine how it's going to be when I'm in my 50s or 60s. Like, I will not
different.
pull a hostel or, like those kind of experiences, which I have and I fully enjoyed. It's just sometimes, looking for happiness in the wrong places for a couple of years now, I feel that wouldn't be the worst decision, because I have never looked back on travel and was like, oh, wow, I wish I would have not done that.
Yeah.
It's more like, why didn't I do it longer?
Yeah.
I should have done more.
Yeah. Well, that sounds very exciting. I think I have no idea about the situation, but I think that's what you should do. Not that you asked for my advice anyway. I'm just giving it anyway.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, so that's pretty cool. So what are your next steps now? Like, what do you think is next for you over the next few months? Is it sending it out, then maybe making some travel plans, or what are your next steps?
Next step. So I already started to kind of make a list of what to do. Like, one of the things is, of course, you have certain assets that I have here. Like, during COVID, I ended up paying off my car, so putting the title into my name instead of the bank's. During COVID, those offices were closed, so I started doing that, kind of doing like the prep work, kind of looking how much can I get for certain things if I sell them, what are the necessities that I still need, and everything else I can sell. And in Germany, we're like, are you going to like ship your furniture and stuff like that? I'm leaving the US pretty much with one suitcase more than I came here. Because in the end, like, I think that's one of the things I take away is the things that are going to be important aren't materialistic. They're the experiences, the memories, the friends, connections you make along the way. It's not the clothes or the paintings or, all these things. The only thing I really like, if it's even materialistic, that I want to take from here is my dog. He's set to go on the journey with me. So definitely that's one of the bucket list things and like steps I have to take, like kind of prep him if he were to go into cargo. He's a bit more on the skittish side. So kind of prepping him with the crate training. And that's another thing that I don't want to rush. I don't want him to be like, you have 2 weeks and now you have to love being in this tight space for 12 hours. But kind of setting up my finances. I already started, since the euro and the dollar have been so close, starting to move some assets around and looking into how can I save money, especially if I were to travel. I just recently started a second job on the weekends to just have like extra cash. Not that I necessarily need it, but it's just good prep work. And something to not have to worry about once I get to Germany, just knowing that I'm financially stable. And I'm fortunate that although I went to college here, I have no debt at all, which is so un-American.
It is very.
And also just, I definitely want to keep applying and see what's out there on the German job market, just to get a feel, just to have some connections, LinkedIn, kind of, build my network out. So even if it comes to the time, if I don't fill the current position, they might have a position opening up during the time when I'm there and already in Germany, which should make things a bit smoother.
Yeah. Very cool. Well, I'm invested, Cathrin. I need to know how the story ends. So I'm going to have to contact you in a few months and find out what's going on.
Follow the journey.
Yeah. It's been great talking to you. I really appreciate you making your time to talk about your experiences. Like I said at the beginning, I'm always very interested in Germans who are making the move back, just like a foreigner, and what their thoughts and experiences are. So thank you very much for sharing and being open and honest with everything. And I appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you for having me. This was great.
All right, that's it. Thanks for listening. I'm very excited about some of the guests that I've got coming up over the next few weeks. So stay tuned to your podcast feeds. Write me if you have any feedback, info@thegermanyexperience.de, or if you just want to chat. I'll chat. I'll talk. Send me an email. I'll reply. I might not reply immediately, but I will reply and get in touch. And I love to connect with people. So do that. And that's it for this week. Auf Wiedersehen.